One of the most common ideas in movies is that another intelligent civilization will take over our planet. The aliens love Earth for its minerals, liquid water, atmosphere, and perfect star at the center of the system, but they do not love humans. As a rule, huge spaceships besiege the planet, the invasion begins suddenly, and humanity is not ready to fight back in the first days of the war. But the picture Pacific Frontier breaks all the years established concept. Alien invaders act much more rationally. They do not waste time on a long flight. They do not send a fleet of ships. They do not use resources. The aliens don't even engage in combat. Instead, they create a portal and send in giant kaiju. Their biological weapons, monsters created and programmed for total annihilation. What clever invaders. The movie is really well thought out, but while watching it, it still raises a huge number of questions. Why don't the Harbingers send kaiju every minute? Why do they only open one portal and not 10? What do we even know about their world and home planet? There's not a lot of information in the movie and the script. We know that they tried to take over the Earth 65 million years ago, but they did not like the climate and the composition of the air. Then why not reform the planet? What really happened 65 million years ago, and why did we have to wait so long? To reiterate, there are so many questions, and I've only touched on a fraction of them, but there are answers, and most importantly, an explanation in this cinematic universe. If you want to find out everything, then do it. So first, we need to know everything about the homeworld and the invaders, their history, their motives. To understand the reasons, the highly advanced civilization we know as the Ancients is much older than humanity. They are among the first living organisms in the universe to learn to control matter, space, and time. At the time of the events in the movie, the Forerunners no longer have a home planet as such. Over the years, they have created an entire network of worlds, including thousands of enslaved planets. At the height of their progress, the aliens realized that traveling across galaxies in spaceships was inefficient. Even at the speed of light, it can take millions of years. It is much more productive to create a controlled portal through which you can get to any point in the universe. A portal, not a wormhole. Since the principle of their work is different, the wormhole will allow anyone to pass in both directions, and the portal can be opened and closed at will. That is, to control the process of movement to eliminate various possibilities of intrusion of unwanted guests. But there were two problems in creating the portal. The first was time, which is different in different parts of space. The difference can be very large. The best example was shown in the movie Interstellar. An hour spent on Miller's planet is equivalent to 7 Earth years. Time is the first difficulty. The second is the amount of energy required. Opening a portal is not a problem, but controlling it and maintaining constant communication with the other side requires a huge amount of energy. The solution was found in the Dyson sphere. This star energy extraction mechanism was perfected. At the center was a star, around which was built a hyperconstruction in the form of rings. This allowed the extraction of energy that was used to open and stabilize the portal. The Forerunners solved the second time problem with a controlled black hole. Not only did it absorb infrared radiation, but it could also distort time and space. How exactly they managed to create a hole is unknown. Perhaps they used the black holes that already existed in space. Perhaps they created their own. There is no information, but all this super mechanism helped the ancestors to travel to all corners of space to find suitable planets. They don't waste time on terraforming. It's much easier to find a finished planet, of which there are an infinite number in the universe. Over hundreds of millions of years of development, the Forerunners have studied all kinds of science, including genetic engineering. As a result, they use giant creatures known to us as Kaiju as their main fighting unit. These mega monsters were created from scratch, their DNA programmed, including the instincts for self-preservation and reproduction. They are simply bioweapons with a single shared consciousness. After conquering another world, some of the Forerunners colonized the planet and built a new Dyson sphere with its own star and black hole. The portal was then stabilized and adapted to the captured world, meaning that the Forerunners exist within a created network in which the same time flows. Black holes are used to control the simultaneous chain. Portals are used for transportation, and Kaiju are used for war. This general understanding of their way of life explains all the plot holes in the movie. First, the lifespan of the Forerunners as stated in the script. The lifespans of the Forerunners are in the millions of years, largely due to the unique passage of time on their homeworld, which means that they slow down time so much that a year on Earth is perhaps a million in the network they have created. There is no exact information on the time ratio, we can only speculate, but that gives the main answer as it is. We already know that aliens first tried to take over the Earth 65 million years ago. The Kaiju caused the extinction of the dinosaurs, but the Earth's atmosphere was unsuitable for their bioweapons. The Kaiju died too quickly, and the air composition and water chemistry didn't suit the Forerunners. It may have been that long on our planet between the two attempts to take over Earth, but on the Forerunner world, it was only a few hundred years. You remember Dr. Herman's observation. He noticed that there was a sequence to the appearance of the Kaiju. First, the rift would open every 24 weeks, then every 12, then every 6, and so it got to the point where they were passing by our world every minute. The reason for this is the different time ratio. When the portal opened, time passed differently on each side. On the home world of the Forerunners, they send the Kaiju one by one, but on Earth, time runs differently, so there are periods where the Kaiju pass through. Huge gaps in time. But then, why did the opening time for the Kaiju's passage get shorter and shorter over the course of 12 years? Because when the Forerunners opened the portal in 2013, they immediately started to improve their underworld. They used the black hole to create a time chain, and after 12 years, the aliens finished synchronizing the two worlds, and time on their planet and on Earth began to flow the same. That's why they couldn't send the Kaiju horde all at once because of the time difference. At first, the Forerunners had their hands tied and only prepared for war, sending out scouts, analyzing, exhausting people, strengthening communication. All the first Kaiju had no significant weapons in their arsenal. The last ones were already warriors. This also explained Riley's rescue. When he broke into the Harbinger's house, he had time to blow up the place. And escape? If Riley had been in a different timeline at the time of the explosion, his escape pod would have been found days or years later. But that didn't happen, so the synchronization of the two worlds was over at the time of the explosion. But the Forerunners had not yet achieved portal stability. That is, the stage of full communication has not yet occurred. The aliens have only begun preparations. Guards are forming around the rift, waiting for the full connection to be established. After that, hundreds of Kaiju will arrive on Earth to finish the job. In the movie, a group of hunters managed to close the portal, but if they hadn't, the consequences would have been catastrophic. So the aliens can't use the portal to its full potential until a certain point. With so many resources spent on just one portal, they simply don't have enough energy to open a second, third portal. Another frequently asked question is, why did the rift open at the bottom of the ocean? First of all, it is a natural defense. There is no convenient access to study it. It is too deep. Even if humans manage to build a laboratory at the bottom of the ocean, the first Kaiju will destroy it. You will also notice that the atmosphere of the Harbinger's homeworld is liquid. There is water in the rift. The aliens live in water, and you can tell by the air bubbles that seep out of the vagrant's hull. You can also see small drops of water in the hunter's control room. The rift is open in the ocean because the aliens are aquatic creatures. Their bodies resemble mollusks in anatomy, in structure. Our planet is a paradise for them because 70% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. Moreover, the Kaiju move much faster in water. On land, they are clumsy because of their large body mass, but in the ocean, they can hide in the depths and remain undetected for a long time. Director Guillermo del Toro said in interviews that the monsters are poorly adapted to Earth's gravity and cannot live for more than 6 months. For such a body mass, they need a sufficient amount of food. Once a Kaiju appears on the surface of the Earth, it is doomed to die. If the Kaiju does not die of starvation, it will die of exhaustion. Due to its mass, monsters cannot sleep. If it suddenly falls asleep, its internal organs will crush itself under its own weight. Therefore, every hit, throw, and fall from the hunters can kill the giant. But from the outside, this bioweapon is well protected. Small arms are useless. They don't even leave scratches and can't penetrate the thick skin. We know that all Kaiju are clones of each other. They share the same DNA and are bred by the Forerunners as their primary fighting unit. But most importantly, the Kaiju share a common consciousness. Unfortunately, this is not explained in any way in the movie. There must be a biocomputer that controls the memory of all the Kaiju, an artificial intelligence that can communicate telepathically, give orders, and store all the data. But how does this communication work? When biology professor Newton Geisler enters the drift with a piece of a Kaitan's brain, he sees not only the memories of this long dead Kaiju, but also what happened 65 million years ago. I'm not exactly sure how this works across such a long distance between two different worlds, but the answer may be hidden in the rift itself. When the drifter got in, we can see that the movement mechanism is organic and a huge living organism. I think this is the biocomputer that the telepathic communication runs through. The signal from the gamekeeper traveled perfectly to the control center. Inside the rift itself, the center received all the signals, but as soon as the hunter arrived on the Harbinger planet, the connection was immediately broken. This is how all the Kaiju transferred their memories and received orders from the Harbingers. The rift is capable of telepathic communication. Again, it is essentially a living organism just like the Kaiju themselves. The movie also states that different monsters have come to Earth. No two are the same. Even though their DNA and general structure is identical, the characterization, weaponry, mass, everything is different. When we are shown the planet of the Forerunners for a split second, we can see at least 3 pointy heads and several mutars, so the invaders are identical individuals. This is most likely due to the invasion plan. I think this planet is one of the many war labs that follow the same tactics. All the Kaiju go into the rift in strict order, by category and strength. The weakest go first, and the strongest go last. The resistance side has the illusion of victory. Because of this illusion, the Ageria project was stopped. Mankind believed in its own strength, and that was the main reason for building a wall that could not really withstand the strength of the third and fourth category Kaiju. Since we were shown identical individuals, it means only one thing. The Forerunners are always at war. After conquering one planet, they move on to another. Or there is a second possibility. When the rift is fully synchronized, all the Kaiju stored on the planet are sent to Earth in one continuous stream. That is, they are stored for the main attack. When the second movie was released, the overall concept was slightly disrupted. An anti-universe signature appeared, which means that the general consciousness of the Kaiju works everywhere and always. Also, a portal can be opened on the other side, from Earth itself, and not only one, but 17 at the same time. Everything that was understandable in the first movie, they decided to remove in the second one. Of course, in the first picture is not ideal, but I am not here to criticize, but on the contrary, to help to understand everything. And I hope I partially succeeded. If you have more questions, I'm waiting for them in the comments. I watched the first and the second part of Pacific Rim. Of course, I enjoyed the first part a lot, and the second part is already so bad. I read the comics, they are very controversial, some will like it, some won't. I also read the script, it's basically the same as the movie, so director Guillermo del Toro did a good job of putting his thoughts on screen. So kudos to him. But most importantly, I hope I was able to give you some answers, because while watching the first part, there were still some questions. I will not talk about movie bloopers and other inconsistencies, nevertheless the movie was good. See you soon.